Welcome back to Jnanasari. Today we are going to discuss about information and communication technology, which has appeared in January 2017 question paper. Which of the following correctly listed computer memory types from highest to lowest speed? We have to identify which is having the lowest speed and which is having the highest speed. But it has to start from the highest speed to the lowest speed. And here the storage things which is provided to us is secondary storage, main storage, cache memory, CPU register. These are the 4 storage places they have given, and we have to identify which is the highest speed and which is the lowest speed. Before moving on to the correct answer, let me introduce some of the concept to you people. Types of computer memory. When you talk about memory of computer, there will be a 2 classification. One is called as primary memory, another one is called as secondary memory. When you talk about primary memory, it is also known as system memory because it will be stored in a computer or in your laptop. It will be classified into 2 main categories. One is called as ROM, another one is RAM, which is very closely stored in CPU, either on the motherboard, and it is very easy and quickly accessible by CPU. That's why it is quick compared to the secondary memory. When you talk about secondary memory is usually termed as storage because it is used for storing the huge data. It will be physically located within the separate storage devices. It can be the DVD or it can be SSD, that is a solid state drive, or it can be the HDD hard disk drive, which can be connected to system either directly or over the network. It can be either through the network or from the system directly it can be accessible. So as we know, it can be classified into primary memory as well as secondary memory. Primary memory is quickly accessible compared to the, and going on to the next one. When you talk about computer memory, we told it will be classified into primary memory and secondary memory. In primary memory, further classified into RAM and ROM. But let's look on to SRAM and DRAM. First, oldest one is DRAM. DRAM refers to dynamic. First one is static random access memory, and then it came a dynamic random access memory. When you talk about static, as the name tells, it is not too distinguished or it is not so quick. What do you mean by that? When you talk about the dynamic RAM, random access memory, dynamic random access memory will be classified into 2 categories. One is called as the old, another one is called as a new. And in DRAM, old one is consisting of single data set, but the new concept is dual data sets. In dual data sets, it is having various variation. One is DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, all these things, dual data set, DDR, all referred as dual data rate. And it is usually represented in GB. DRAM will be represented in GB, and it will have maximum 1 transistor and a capacitor. And moving on to the SRAM, static random access memory. Static random access memory will be basically a faster compared to DRAM. It is comparatively faster and it is very expensive, and it will be usually in MB. It will be usually represented in MB, but DRAM will be represented in GB. And which is faster? Compared to DRAM, static RAM is quick and faster. And in static random access memory, it will be having 6 transistor and 1 capacitor, and it will be no need to have the refreshing, but in DRAM refreshing of the system is very necessary to make it fast, but in SRAM, it is not called as refreshing. It will be randomly refreshed within it. Moving on to the next category, that is called as read-only memory. But in random access memory, it can be rewritten. But in ROM, it is basically a read-only memory. And one more important difference between RAM and ROM is that RAM is basically volatile. Well, what do you mean by volatile? In the next slide, I will be explaining. It is basically volatile, but ROM is non-volatile. And let's move on to the other two categories. Three categories are there, but I have broadly classified into two categories here. It is one is called as PROM, EEPROM, double EEPROM. What do you mean by PROM? PROM is nothing but programmable random read-only memory. Sorry, programmable read-only memory. After the manufacturing is done, when the manufacturing is happening, it will be empty and then the programming will be done. But moving on to the EEPROM, it will be erasable, programmable read-only memory, and here the system can be removed and then exposed to UV lights before going for burning. Burning means copying all the contents of programs to the EEPROM. And moving on to the next one, it will be classified into EEPROM. It is nothing but electronically erasable, programmable read-only memory, and it can be updated, and it is usually for editing of any programs entered. This is the main classification of primary memory. And let's move on to the secondary memory. As we know, secondary memories will be usually in GB and it will be having a lot of storage capability, and it is a separate storage unit as well, and it will be hard disk drive, solid state drive, computer disk, floppy disk, magnet type. All these things will be coming under the category called as secondary memory. Now, one more term I wanted to go through is that non-volatile and volatile. What do you mean by non-volatile? Whatever you have entered in the system, or they can store data on a long-term basis. Example is ROM. Read-only memory is the thing when the power is off. When the power non-volatile is that they can store data on a long-term basis even there is no power. If the power is gone, then data will not be erased. It will be stored in the system itself. But when it comes to volatile, what volatile means, it keeps on changing. Often it is faster, but which lose all the data which has been stored once the system power is gone. So the difference here is when the power goes off in volatile, all the data get erased, but non-volatile, when the power is off, the data will not be erased. So non-volatile is ROM and volatile is RAM. Let's look into the question what they have asked us. What is the highest speed to lowest speed? Remember, CPU register. There are certain register inside the processing unit which will be considered first, and it is very fastly accessible. And moving on to the next one, it will be categorized into cache memory. Cache memory is a small storage unit which is located near to the CPU or in the motherboard, but it is after this register. So cache memory, and then it will be main memory, which is classified as random access memory, and then move on to the secondary memory. Here the right answer we can consider is, it will be CPU register will be the first, speediest, and then cache memory, main memory, and last one will be the secondary storage in the text of the computer storage. I believe you people can understand at least two of the concept in a broader sense, because once you're reading about all these things, whenever they're asking about computer storage or volatile, you'll be able to answer it. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following statements is or true? Either one statement may be true or both the statements may be true. Let's look into the first statement what they have given. The decimal number 11 is larger than hexadecimal number 11. They've given in decimal number 11 and the hexadecimal number 11. And what is the thing we have to identify is that when they have given this, which is the greater one we want to identify. In the binary number, it is given 1110.101. The fractional part, they asked us only the fractional part. has the decimal value as 0.625. Let's consider the first statement, the decimal number. When you talk about the decimal number, remember decimal number is counting from 0 to 9. It will be 10 digits. Starting from 0 to 9, it will be 10 digits. It will be having 10 digits. That will be decimal. But in hexadecimal, hexa means 6, decimal means 10. 10 plus 6 will be 16. It will start from, I'm really sorry here, there are 16 things, but here it will be 15. Remember, it will start from 0 and it will wind up till 15. But as we know, the digits, it will start from 0 to 9. There are 10. What about the remaining 6? Remaining 6 will be, the 11th one will be A, 12th one will be B, 13th one will be C, 14th D, 15 E, and 16 will be F. This is the way they represent the numbers. But when you're trying to convert the numbers into decimal, what is the way? As we do it, you have to multiply with the decimal number. Decimal will be 10 to the power of 1 and 10 to the power of 0 here. Tens place is 10 to the power of 1 and the unit place will be 10 to the power of 0. 10 to the power of 1 will be 10. 10 to the power of 0 will be 1. It will be 1 and 1 tens are 10, 1 ones are 1. So it will be 11 will be the value for decimal number. That's right. Let's move on to the next one, hexadecimal value. When you're representing 11, what do you mean? The actual number. 1 into 16 to the power of 1 plus 1 into 16 to the power of 0. When you talk 16 to the power of 0 will be 1, 1 16s are 16, 1 1s are 1. So it will be 17. One term it is telling 11, other term it is referring as 17. What was the statement provided to us? They gave us the statement that the 11, the decimal number 11 is larger than the hexadecimal number 11. When we solved it, we were able to find that decimal number, when you are representing, it was 11, and hexadecimal number, it was 17. Hexadecimal number was 17. Let's look into that. The decimal number 11 is larger than the hexadecimal number 11. Decimal number was not larger. Why? Because it was, they are telling 11 was larger than 17. No, it's just wrong. Actually, hexadecimal number 11 was larger than decimal number 11. So the first statement, we can tell it as it is wrong. It was a statement is false. Let's move on to the next one. In the binary number, binary means it is either 1 or 0. So how many digits are there? Only 2 digits are there. So 111 0.101. But they are talking about fractional part. What do you mean by fractional part here? This is called as fractional part. Let's convert into as the decimal value as 0.625. Now we have to convert into decimal place as the decimal value as 0.625. 0.101. Let's consider it 0.1. So 1 into, it is in decimal place, so we have to take it as 1 by 2 to the power of 1 plus 0 into 1 by 2 to the power of 2. And then last one, 1 into 1 divided by 2 to the power of 3. This is how we have to classify when it is given in binary. Binary, we are converting it to decimal. So how we can consider it? So it will be classified as 1 by 2 to the power of 1 will be 2 plus 0, because whenever you multiply anything with 0, it will be 0 instead of doing all the calculation. 1 ones are 1 divided by 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3 is nothing but 2 into 2. So 2 to the 4, 4 to the 8. So it will be 8. Let's take a count here. 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2 is nothing but half is nothing but 0 0.5 plus 0 plus 1 by 8. 1 by 8 can be represented as, it will be 1 by 8 means 0 0.1, then 2, 5. 0 0.125 will be the proportion. Let's add together. When you add 0 0.5 and 0 0.125, 125, it is going to be 5, 2, 6.0. So it's right. In the binary number, 1.101 will be represented as 0 0.625. Statement 1 is true. No. Only 2 is true. Yes. Other statements are wrong. So second option will be the right answer. So here we were able to identify what is decimal and what is hexadecimal, what is binary. Binary means it will have 2 to the power of, decimal means 10 to the power of, hexa means 16 to the power of. Let's move on to the next question. Read the following two statements. One is talking about information and communication technology, ICT, is considered as a subset of information technology. Always remember, when you're talking about ICT, is it a subset of IT? They're telling that if the IT was bigger, then ICT is a center part. It's wrong actually. ICT is a bigger term. ICT is very big, information and communication technology. In that, one of the subset is IT. IT is a part or a subset of information and communication technology. So the statement 1 is wrong. Let's move on to the statement 2. The right to use a piece of software is termed as copyright. There will be a confusion between the patent and the copyright. Remember, copyright is considered as some innovations which is carried out on software. If there is a piece of software which you have been generated, if you have some right to use, those things are termed as copyright. So the statement 2 is right. So the third option will be the right one. You can't go for both the right because one thing is right. Neither nor means both the statements are wrong. No, second statement is right. One statement is not true. So we can generalize here the ICT use and the software is the copyright is the most important thing here. Let's move on to the question. Which of the following is the characteristic of Web 2.0? Let's first understand what is the characteristic of 2.0 under Web 1. Web 1.0, Web 2.0. When you talk about the Web 1.0, it is basically read only, read or write or collaborate. But in Web 2.0, it was very advanced. You can read, you can write, and you can even go for collaboration. Web as reading platform. It was just to read whatever the content you wanted. But whereas the 2.0 was advanced and it was having a publication platform as well. You want to publish something, you are innovative, you are capable of writing something, you can do it here. Developer authorship. It was basically for the developer. None of us are eligible to do any modification, but in this Web 2.0, it was public authorship. Individual intelligence. It is basically a collective group of people will be giving the contribution. Software application. It is a platform for software application, and then it is commercial or proprietary. Basically here Web 2.0 is open-ended and 1.0 is basically a static, whereas it is very dynamic, it keeps on changing. Let's move on to the Web 2.1. It is impersonal, means it is very oriented towards some people. but here it reads the minds of the people, and whatever necessary it's try to generate for them, and it is not eligible for, or it is ineligible for the collaboration. But here you can go for collaboration. Short tail, here it is very long tail because it is a combination and there will be a people contributing to it. Official releases, it is constantly, it keep on revising by itself based on the content. Text based, it is multi-model based. You can go for the pictures, you can go for the graphic, and you can put on videos, anything is possible. It was basically in storage platform where everything is stored in the web itself, and it is for the lecture. And here basically you can go for conversation. Example I could give is that whatever you send it in the form of Quora, so one platform where you can generate your opinions and you can go for it, and it is more interactive oriented. So now you can understand what are the characteristics here. Old one was sophisticated and it is restrictive, but here it is very comprehensive and it is user friendly as well. Multiple users schedule their time to use Web 2.0 application one by one. No, at simultaneously huge number of people can go for the conversation or write up publications. So the first statement here is not related to the Web 2.0. Let's move on to the Web 2.0. Applications are focused on the ability for people to collaborate. Yes, you can go for the collaboration and you can share the information online. Yes, this statement is right. But let's move on to the third statement. They have given Web 2.0 application provide users with the content rather than facilitating users to create it. No, it will facilitate you to create it, but they are telling content. No, content was 2.0 old one, but here you can go for facilitation. And the next one, Web 2.0 application use only static pages. No, it is dynamic. So right answer will be web will be able to collaborate and you can share information online. This is the right answer. You can go for the second option because it is more appropriate. And let's move on to the next one. With regard to word processing software, it is can be Microsoft. The process of combining static information in a publication together. You want to publish or you want to send something with variable information. Variable means certain data can be changed for each one in a data sources to create one merged publication. Here, the facilitating tool you can use here is mail merge. Electronic mail is nothing but sending the message through electronic form is called as electronic mail. So this is not the one. And then spam mail. Definitely wrong. What do you mean by spam mail? The advertisements or some of the information which is you don't want, you no need to accept, but default you will be able to get it and it moves on to spam mail once you push up all those data into spam. So you don't know that person, but the promotion agencies or some of the companies promote their product through spam mails. And data sourcing, you need some data and you try to gather those data. Definitely wrong. So if you want to send the information to different people with the changing names or the address, that helps in mail merging. So right answer will be mail merge. And last part of this presentation, DVD technologies uses an optical media to store the digital data. Yes, DVD will be storing all the data in the optical format. True. But what is the acronym for DVD? What is the abbreviations of DVD? As I told in the previous presentation, I have provided the link. In that, I have given the abbreviations of nearly 8 terms. You can refer that. I told when you read one paper, you will be connected to the other paper, how you can solve it. This is one of the important thing. So digital is always same and disk is always same. Now the questions comes whether it is vector, volume, versatile or visualization. When you see optical, don't come to a conclusion it is visualization. It is wrong. Vector, wrong. And it is not even volume. It is digital versatile disk, or it can also be termed as video, digital video disk or digital versatile disk. Both the terms are right when it comes to the acronym of DVD. I hope this will be clear, and I have provided the links for the previous session. You can just go through, but it is in the linguistic language, but you can understand to some extent. I will try to convert those things also into English. Now, moving on to the next one. So we have come to the end of the 2017 January paper related to ICT. I believe you have understood, and for more updates, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.